Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio. That's AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call to find out what's for dinner. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935 for UppercutChops.com. All right, welcome back. And a big welcome in to everybody that's new listening in. Or if you've been away for a while, thanks for joining us here in fabulous Las Vegas for the Sports Circus. And welcome in everybody on television on our Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, and WOW Cable television affiliates in select markets, Hotel TV, across America, as well as all of our CBS, NBC, Fox, and independent radio listeners as well. So we have the top 25 has changed just a little bit here in college football, and we're going to talk about that for just a quick minute here. Think about those complete rankings. And, of course, there is the coaches poll, and then there's the AP top 25. We're going to focus on the AP top 25 for just a moment here. So those not making the top 25 but receiving votes. Now, this has been an interesting mix of teams, and we're going to talk about that for just a hot second because Memphis, Syracuse, Boise State, UNLV, Boston College, Washington State, Iowa, Arizona, Indiana, yes, Indiana, Cal, Liberty, Toledo, UCF, South Carolina, North Carolina, Arizona State, Brigham Young, and Pitt all got votes. But dropping out of the rankings, of course, was Arizona and Boston College. Now, they did get some votes. But what's interesting about this complete rankings, looking at those others receiving votes, is who's in there. Indiana, with an enormous win at the Rose Bowl. Can't remember the last time Indiana has gone even and played a game in the Rose Bowl, let alone won a game big over UCLA in the Rose Bowl, which UCLA is now a member of the Big Ten, believe it or not. That, of course, to me makes very, very little sense, but it doesn't really matter whether it makes sense to me. But Toledo gets 9 votes, and they should be getting more votes than that. UNLV gets 54 votes. I'll give it to them. I mean, look, they've been playing pretty good ball. They had another decent win, so we'll just tip our hats to them, say, all right, good for you. Iowa gets 15. Washington State in the Apple Cup that is normally played the last game of the season. Again, Washington State, that's where they were both in the Pac-12, which is, here's some interesting statements. So the Pac-12 used to be the Pac-8, then it was the Pac-10, then it was the Pac-12. And, of course, then there's a mass migration away from the Pac-12, so it came down to the Pac-2. And now it is the Pac-6 again, soon to be the Pac-8 at least within the next year. So anyway, the Apple Cup was played at the end of the year every year, and Washington State with a real nice win over Washington in that game this year. That was one of those Pepto-Bismol upset stomach specials of the week, courtesy of Sal the Bookmaker. Of course, we like that one.
Show me the money!
But looking at the balance of these others not receiving votes, I think Arizona is a little bit better than what people imagine that they are. Arizona is actually a pretty good squad, despite whether they win or lose. Arizona State is also getting votes. So you've got both Arizona teams with their migration over to the Big 12 getting votes. And now going into the top 25, it was Texas A&M not rated with a nice win in their game, making the 25th spot. Illinois moved to 3-0, goes to number 24. This is the AP Top 25 Associated Press. Northern Illinois goes up 2 slots to number 23. Nebraska moves up a slot to number 22 with a nice win. Clemson moves up 1 spot at 1 win and 1 loss at 21. Iowa State, a very good Iowa State team, is 2-0, having 354 votes. They move up 1 to number 20. Louisville stayed the same. They were idle. Michigan drops 1 despite a win. They're 2-1 in their 1-loss record, but they dropped 1 because they didn't have a prolific win. Notre Dame goes up just 1 after beating up on a rebuilding Purdue team. And, for those guys to score 60-odd points, when the game was already over, when it was 42-0, essentially, and they just kept pouring it on, that's going to come back to get them. Somebody else is going to come back to bite them. And you don't do that when the team is already down. You know the game is over. You're supposed to empty the bench, play your second and third stringers, give them some reps, and that's not what Notre Dame did, because that's not what Notre Dame does. So they will get theirs, and somebody's going to pay them back dearly. In fact, they're only number 18 in the coaches poll. But moving on, LSU remains the same at number 16 at 2-1. Oklahoma. It looks like a paperclip, that Oklahoma University logo. And I say Oklahoma because that's the actual, if you look at the logo, it's an O, then a U below it. Instead of University of Oklahoma, which you would imagine the U would be in front of the O. Either way, it doesn't matter. It looks like a paperclip, if you know what I mean. Can't help that one. But anyway, they sit 1 slot behind Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's at 14. Oklahoma's at 15. And Oklahoma State dropped 1, even though they're 3 wins against no losses. A very impressive Kansas State team at 3-0 moves up 1 slot to number 13. Utah stays the same with their win against Utah State at 3-0. USC remains the same at 2-0. Penn State 2-0, but dropped 2 slots. Oregon, even with their win against Oregon State, they remain number 9. The University of Miami, they move up 2 slots to number 8. Missouri drops 1 despite a win. They drop down to number 7. Tennessee with a beating up over nobody. That would be Kent State. They drop 70-odd points on them. And somehow they go up 1 while Missouri has a tougher game and drops 1, which makes no sense to me. But then again, this is all about what?
Show me the money!
That's right. It's about money. Ole Miss stays the same at number 5 at 3-0. Alabama with a real nice win up at Camp Randall Stadium in Wisconsin, 3-0. Ohio State is at number 3 at 2-0. Georgia drops despite their win by the skin of their teeth at Lexington. Boy, Kentucky gave them all they can handle. Kentucky had a chance to win the game at the end. And so Georgia drops from number 1 to number 2, and Texas, with an impressive win, goes from number 2 to number 1. So that is the AP that's the AP poll, the Associated Press poll. But now the coaches poll, any differences? We see Georgia still number 1 in the coaches poll. And let's look for some differences here. Oregon is actually ahead of Tennessee at 6 in the coaches poll as well. Somehow they have Missouri below Tennessee, which I don't understand. They have Missouri actually at number 8. They've moved up Penn State to number 9. Utah, they have 2 slots higher than the AP poll, being the coaches poll, at number 10. They have Miami being 3 slots less than the AP poll at number 11. USC is 1 slot less in the coaches poll. I guess the coaches aren't impressed with them. Oklahoma is 2 slots higher in the coaches poll. I guess the coaches like them. Kansas State is 1 slot less. Oklahoma State is 1 slot less. LSU is the same. Michigan is 1 slot higher in the coaches poll. Notre Dame is 1 slot less in the coaches poll. Clemson a couple slots higher at number 19 in the coaches poll. And Louisville, who is unranked, Louisville's number 19 in the AP, and they're actually number 20 in the coaches poll. Nobody really respects Louisville at this point, I guess. Iowa State is 1 less. Nebraska the same. Memphis, who only got votes in the AP, Memphis is actually ranked 23rd in the coaches poll. Texas A&M 24 in the coaches versus 25 in the AP. Illinois is not in the coaches poll whatsoever. In fact, they're only receiving votes. But in the AP, they're number 24. Why does this stuff matter? Because when it comes time to voting, when it comes time to this college football playoff nonsense, really, that's the only time the rankings matter. But the problem is this. If the AP, where you have all those writers and whatnot, they're saying, well, we think these guys are better than those guys. But then you have the coaches saying, well, wait, these guys are better than those guys. I mean, who is the committee really going to be influenced by? I'm going to guess the coaches poll is a little bit more important despite the AP getting all the press. And that's the conundrum. And why are we talking about it? Because we don't really know what the committee criteria is, because you normally have a hodgepodge of different coaches or from this committee. But the bigger question is, are any of them voting in the coaches poll? That's the question. Back here in a few minutes on The Circus. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. store without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from fabulous Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. All right, welcome back, everybody, listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the New York Yankees, the San Francisco 49ers, and, of course, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcoming everybody up and down the West Coast, all the way through Denver, down to Texas and Chicagoland, on all of our independents, as well as our friends over in Auburn, Alabama. War Eagle over on 12:30 a.m. on WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves. And, of course, speaking of Atlanta, big hello to our friends over there at 99.1 FM WDJY, as well as everybody else up and down the East Coast, from Miami all the way up past New York through Boston, on all of our independents there as well. Thanks for joining us. Of course, everybody gets a nice big round of applause, plus all cable television affiliates, hotel television, everybody streaming. How about everybody streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram Live? Thanks for joining us there, and those on the Mars rover as well. You know, jumping over into the National Football League. Look, lots of stories, big storylines here, there, whatever. Lots of stuff happened, and the games over the weekend and the week 2, week 3 games. I mean, look, we'll just go with week 2. There's some very interesting results in this. And you look at the latest lines, which we like to give our predictions the week before, which we didn't do for the NFL. We actually had a very, very good week when it came to college football. We just didn't do the NFL games for the last week. And Sal the bookmaker did about 84% on the right side, which is unbelievable against the Vegas line. Of course, that's the old...
Show me the money!
That's right. Lots of money being made out there. But even people called me and asked me, hey, what do you think about X, Y, and Z? And, of course, my biggest games were Alabama covering the 13 points up in Camp Randall Stadium. I mean, that looked so unusual in the first place. You had to take Alabama. It didn't really matter what the deal was. Kentucky was another big one that we had. Hell, Kentucky almost won the game. And, of course, there was a few others as well. But moving on to the NFL, some surprise games, of course. Buffalo 31 over Miami 10 down in Florida. And, of course, the big story that came out of there was Tua leaving the game with another concussion. We're going to get to that in a moment. And it was Tampa. That was one that people had asked me about. And I said, this is a rematch. This is the second rematch in a row, 2 weeks in a row for Detroit with a playoff team from the previous year. And there was no way that they were going to beat the Fighting Baker Mayfields. And that was a nice win, 20-16 for Tampa Bay over Detroit. New Orleans somehow, I don't even know how this one happened. They dropped 44 on Dallas in Dallas. Of course, remember Dallas had just destroyed Cleveland on the road. So I guess it was one of those turnabout things. Were they looking past the Saints? I don't think so. The Saints played them very tough. Then you have to think that a little bit of is involved in there. And I think there may have been, of course, this is always my opinion, I think part of the game may have been compromised, but that's just me. Green Bay with a win that was rather unexpected over the Colts because it was Malik Willis stepping in for Jordan Love and a Colts team that's actually pretty good. And the low-scoring game we had that one right. We figured that was going to be a low scoring. We just didn't know which side was going to win. Again, we didn't really give those predictions. People had asked me about it, and I said, well, I think they're not going to score a bunch of points. It was Aaron Rodgers and the New Jersey Jets, but you can call them the New York Jets, 24-17, over a pretty good Tennessee team. San Francisco minus Christian McCaffrey still scores 17, but it wasn't good enough to beat Sam Darnold and the Vikings up in Minneapolis. 23-17 was the final there. You would have thought with San Francisco, with all those weapons that they have, that sure, they've missed Christian McCaffrey, but with Deebo Samuel and Kittles and this one and that one, geez, you'd still think that they've got to be able to score at least 20 points in this game, but they didn't. Seattle with a win on the road against a New England team that you scratch your head because you don't know which New England team is going to show up. 23-20 Seattle, with a very mediocre offense, by the way. And it was the New Jersey Giants, but you can call them the New York Giants because they play in East Rutherford, New Jersey, losing to Washington 21-18. And again, I'm not sold on Jaden Daniels, and I don't see that club being Washington being a great club. But then again, nobody is really saying they're great. But what I'm saying is I think that Jaden Daniels is overrated right now. Obviously, like Caleb Williams, we'll get to him in a minute. Nonetheless, it was the Chargers, an easy win over Carolina, where Carolina has they benched Bryce Young. They said, you know what, kid? You're going to sit back and you're going to watch. And we're going to bring in Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton is a playoff quarterback, and he is a well-traveled quarterback. Carolina wants to at least put some butts in the seats so give themselves a chance to win a game because they do have some pieces over there. But it was the Chargers with a Jim Harbaugh-led team. Let me tell you something. Those Chargers are going to be a very difficult team to play against. The Browns hit the road after being annihilated at home by the Cowboys. They hit the road, go down to Jacksonville, and beat a very good Jacksonville team in a defensive struggle, which is the cornerstone of the Browns team in the first place. They have a good defense, 18-13. And, of course, there's another game that a lot of people seem to be shocked of, and I was scared of it. People had asked me, what do you think of this game? It was the Ravens hosting the Raiders, and I said, look, in my opinion, these are the two teams that are the gum on the bottom of the shoe of the National Football League as far as discipline goes. But I'm going to go with the undisciplined Raiders over the Ravens in Baltimore because everything in your brain says bet Baltimore. Everything. How could the Raiders compete with Baltimore with all those weapons? Well, guess what? Sure enough, it was Vegas making the money on that one, and the Raiders win by a field goal. This one was probably the biggest shocker to me of the entire weekend, and that was the Rams getting absolutely pounded by the Cardinals. Yes, the Cardinals, they've got some tools. I get it. But, the Rams losing 41-10 at Arizona. What a complete destruction. They were losing 14-0 in the first, 24-3 at the half, 34-10, and then that was at the end of 3, and then, of course, the end of the game was 41-10. But the bigger storylines was if you looked at the opening odds, it was the Cardinals minus 110. The point spread was the Cardinals were plus 1. They were home team dog only by 1, which I would have thought they'd be a little bit bigger than that. But it was the Cardinals completely controlling the tempo of this game. Not even close. When you looked at the game, you say, all right, Kyler Murray, what a quarterback rating of 158.3, 17-21 for 266, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Matthew Stafford looks like the old Matthew Stafford from when he was with the Detroit Lions. Yes, he had a decent day, but it wasn't a great day. 19-27, 216. No touchdowns, no interceptions, 94 rating. Pretty good. Rushing yards. And this is where Arizona completely dominated this game. They turned the Rams into a one-dimensional team. They would have had 53 yards total rushing, being the Rams. And Kyren Williams is a pretty good one. Blake Corum only had 8 for 28. Kyren had 12 for 25 yards. Terrible. Terrible, terrible. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, it was the Cardinals with 122 by Connor. Kyler Murray had 59. DeMarcado had 46. And even Trey Benson had 10. Everybody joined in on it. Marvin Harrison Jr., the rookie, 130 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns, targeted 8 times. Very, very good game by Marvin as a rookie. But those guys you look, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys that caught the ball, whereas actually the Rams had 8, but they had a grand total of, let's put it this way, it looks like about 160 yards, maybe a little bit more than that. In fact, they had a 216 yards total passing yards, and that was team-wide. It was just an embarrassing display by the Rams, and they were beaten like a drum. Wasn't even a close game. Nobody knew that was happening. Nobody knew that was coming. Pittsburgh, in a defensive struggle, it was the Fighting Tomlins 13, the Denver Broncos 6. Can't believe the Broncos didn't even score a touchdown. What's going on with Bo Nix? Bo is a good quarterback. He'll be okay. In the biggest fix of the day, as I saw it, it was the Kansas City Chiefs with a last-minute pass interference call with less than 10 seconds left against the Bengals, which is complete nonsense. Get into field goal range conveniently for the Chiefs to win the game 26-25. And no big surprise, it was the Bears faring not so well against the Houston Texans. Houston is a much, much improved team over a couple of years ago. And the Texans looked great on offense despite the 19 points they scored. It was the Bears defense that actually held them to 19. Most any other team, Houston would have scored 30-plus points. But the Bears couldn't muster up much because that Houston defense is pretty damn good. Folks, it's not that the Bears are bad. They beat a good they beat a good Tennessee team last week. However, the Houston Texans are legit. They've got a bunch of good weapons. And listen, these guys are going to be good for quite a while to come. And I'm going to hand it to Houston and C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud is the first quarterback that I've ever seen out of the Ohio State system. They could produce everything else except the quarterback position all the way up until C.J. Stroud. This kid is good. He's poised. He's efficient. He's accurate. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He gets rid of the ball quick. And you know what? The Bears still covered the spread by the hook. It was 6.5. The Bears lost by 6. Anyway, folks, back here in a few minutes on the Circus. Lots more to come. Don't go anywhere. I'm your Ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it out here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time, that's 800-950-2049.
The old way of living with diabetes is a pain. You've got to remember to do your testing and always need to stick your fingers to test your blood sugar. The new way to live your life with diabetes is with a continuous glucose monitor. Apply a discrete sensor on your body, and it continuously monitors your glucose levels, helping you spend more time in range and freeing you from painful finger sticks. If you are living with type 1 or type 2 diabetes and you use insulin or have had hypoglycemic events, you might be eligible for a CGM through your insurance benefits. U.S. Med partners with over 500 private insurance companies and Medicare. We offer free shipping, 90-day supplies, and we bill your insurance. Call us today for a free benefits check.
800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. That's 800-659-7805.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio. That's AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by the Sports Circus. Make sure to check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, recorded shows, also our podcast, which are our recorded shows in their entirety. We don't fix it in the mix. We leave it as it is. This show, just as you're hearing it, will be on the recorded show page for Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, all those. Anyway, make sure you also check out the partners page. Lots of great partners on that page. And of course, as we mentioned in the last segment, we'll mention again the College of Southern Nevada Athletics right at the top of the page. Check them out again at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. You know, they've been with us since the very beginning. That's the reason we're doing this. The College of Southern Nevada Athletics since 2016 have been a partner with the Sports Circus. That's pretty good stuff, folks. It's a lot of years, and that's over 2,000 shows. That's a lot of shows as well. Also, lots of other great partners on there. Got some great books on there from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Pat Williams and all kinds of other great ones there. Icky Woods Foundation is there as well. Check out the Icky Woods Foundation. And boy, I have to tell you, we're very, very grateful for the partners that we have, the stations that have been with us for years and years as well. And we call out WDJY because they've been good to us over there in Atlanta. We always call out WAUD because they've been very, very good with us over in Auburn, Alabama, War Eagle, and of course our friends over in Honolulu. And these are some long-standing stations that we go out of our way to call out because, let's face it, without the stations, without the ownership, the management, look, they're giving us the playtime. The audience loves us from coast to coast. And out of the 200-odd stations, we just can't call them all out, out of the 200-odd stations that have our product available, which is our content, it happens that we get a lot of eyeballs on the sportscircus.com. And, of course, our partners are big appreciative. Well, you know what I'm saying. Big appreciative doesn't really make sense, but they're extremely appreciative, if you know what I mean. And honestly, without those partners, of course, some of the ongoings behind the scenes here for the Sports Circus would not happen. So, of course, they get a round of applause. Everybody else does. And thanks for joining us again in all those select markets on television as well. And by the way, everybody on Facebook, on Chicago Food Favorites, thanks for joining us there too, because let's face it, you're having a little bit of fun. It's all free. It's free recipes. It's free restaurant input. And that's also by all the members too. There's over 1,400 members on Chicago Food Favorites. But there's no money involved. It's just fun. Put your favorite restaurants up there, your favorite foods, the ones maybe you don't like, you want to warn people about, whether it's grading for A through D, like this restaurant has had problems. Like right here in Las Vegas, we have something called dirty dining, and they show it on television, on the news, which ones have had health department violations and stuff like that. So Chicago Food Favorites has all kinds of good information on it as well. So check that out on Facebook. Again, Chicago Food Favorites. All right, enough of that stuff. Over to the NFL in the injury department. Now let's think about Tua going down in the game against the Buffalo Bills. Of course, now this is multiple concussions from him. Now he signed a gigantic contract. Somebody had a conversation with me about this the other day, and people said, well, you might be a little insensitive. Well, let me tell you something. First of all, folks, these players take these enormous contracts. Tua got another gigantic contract. I'm not saying put your health in danger. I would never do that. But what I'm saying is that the players, they feel as if they've taken a bunch of money and they want to get out there and play. And if they want to play, it's their body. Let them do what they want to do. If they want to play, get out there and play. If the doctor says you should not play, that's a judgment call on the player, not for the coaching team or coaching staff or anything else. Never mind the business side. If the player feels they could play, let them play. They know their body better than anybody else. Testing will show X, Y, and Z, but the player knows A, B, and C. There's the difference. And so the players know their bodies, what they're capable of, and sometimes they'll play when they shouldn't. But then again, that's been going on since the beginning of time in the first place. So let them play if they want to play. Look, if they hurt themselves, all they have to do, the teams, to protect themselves, is have them sign a waiver, some kind of a waiver, have their lawyers sign off on it too, because of course the lawyers get involved in everything. I know, I've got a legal background as well, and I can assure you that there are papers that can be signed to indemnify the teams from the players' decisions. And they can be done. It's just, well, in the snowflake society that we live in today, look, everybody says, well, we have this load management thing in baseball. We have too many games played here, too many games played there. The NBA, they're crying about playing too many games. I mean, the guys that should be complaining are the hockey players. And you know what? They don't complain about diddly. They get out there with chiclets all over the ice. They're losing their teeth. They're getting checked up into the fifth row, through the glass, and all kinds of crap. Get hit with pucks, hit with blades, hit with sticks, hit with everything. The hockey players don't complain about diddly. Everybody else complains about everything else. And I think baseball and football and basketball and even soccer, with their crazy yellow cards, somebody taking a dive and all this other crap. Oh, take me off on a stretcher. I can't help it. Oh, just stop with that crap. These players need to learn a lesson from the hockey players. Those are the real warriors out there. It's not the football players. In fact, a lot of football players have even said in prior polls that hockey players are the toughest, and I would agree. Now, in Tua's situation, he's had multiple concussions. And I mean, look, that's no laughing matter. In fact, one of the friends of the show, Dr. Kristen Wallemeyer, has worked with the CTE concussion protocol athletes for many, many, many years. She's been on the show a number of times. In fact, she's going to be coming on again soon. In fact, today is her birthday. Of course, a nice round of applause for Dr. Kristen. Yes! Happy birthday to you. But what I will say is that the players, they do have certain control over certain things with their body. Now, the brain wants to do one thing, and sometimes the body can't do it. But back in the old days, the pre-93 collective bargaining days, the players were out there because the teams wanted them out there, but the players were out there because they wanted to be out there too. It wasn't about money, because hell, they didn't make much money back then. But now it seems like the players are making business decisions. And I get that. They don't want the money to get funny. But the problem is, when everything is based around money in the first place, you wonder, how do the fans benefit? Okay, well, they have a better product on the field and all this other crap. But players don't face adversity like they used to. And you say, all right, well, so since Tua is basically going to be out for a little bit of while now, what do? In my opinion, I mean, really, there's one choice for the Miami Dolphins, and that's to bring back Ryan Tannehill, who can throw the deep ball. Look, Miami's got great offensive players, great receivers in Tyreek Hill and Waddle, guys that could catch the deep ball. They've got a good running game. I'm telling you, these guys are loaded. They need Ryan Tannehill back, because people say, well, Tom Brady is the dream option. Look, Tom's not going to come back. He's making $380 million for sitting in the booth for Fox, and good for Tom. Hey, I'm okay with that.
Show me the money!
Tom was a little nervous on his first time out. So be it. Wouldn't you be, with millions and millions and millions and millions of people listening to you and watching you? Hey, let's face it, the nerves come out there. It is what it is. But, every year we see starting quarterbacks miss some time during the NFL regular season, while some just miss a few weeks, and others, well, they miss the extended amount of time. And the teams that have playoff aspirations must look at the free agents and see who's out there. I mean, really, right now it's Ryan Tannehill than everybody else. When you look at free agent options, the pickings are very slim right now. And in terms of experience leading a team, Tannehill, he is by far the best option. Look, he started 151 games in his career. He's 81-70 on some pretty bad teams. And this guy still has a winning record compared to the other options available. This guy clearly has the best resume. In fact, most recently spent 5 years in Tennessee where he was 39-24 with a 5% touchdown percentage compared to a 2.2% interception. Now that's pretty damn good. So that's a 2-to-1 superiority. However, his performance fell off towards the end of each time with the team. So be it. It doesn't matter. Look, in his first couple of years in Tennessee, he threw 55 touchdowns at a 7.2 percentage rate while throwing 13 interceptions at a 1.7% rate. His final 3 years, it fell off a little bit, but who gives a damn? He was 38-27 in the last couple, so who cares? He was still above the number. And right now, given what they have available, being Miami, this is clearly the most intriguing quarterback that has some kind of ability to not only throw the deep ball, he throws the deep ball very, very well, but look, he's not a dink and dunk kind of quarterback. And those receivers need somebody to throw the ball downhill, because the Miami Dolphins, when they are healthy, that is a track meet, kind of like playing Kansas City. They've got some very, very fast guys. Let's face it, if Kansas City can get rid of Tyreek Hill, the fastest guy in football, and replace him with another guy that's nearly as fast, look, they need somebody that could throw the ball downfield on a go route. Go ahead, you go. I'm going to get it to you, and let's see where it goes from there. Anyway, back here with that story in just a few minutes on the circus. Don't go anywhere.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from fabulous Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP television. Folks, again, make sure to check out thesportscircus.com for upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, which are a podcast. No, we don't do a podcast. We do a regular TV and radio show. Happens to be all of our recorded shows are those as we did them. Just like all the mistakes I've made in today's show, guess what? You're going to hear them the same way in the recorded shows on Apple, Amazon, Audible, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, etc., etc. Also, make sure you check out those partners. Lots of great partners on the partners page. One of those is Al's Number One Italian Beef at 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. Folks, if you don't know what an Italian beef sandwich is, you're missing out. You've probably heard of the Philly cheesesteak sandwich. Well, this is that on steroids because it's not a fried sandwich. It's actually a cooked sandwich. It takes 22 hours to make this. It's real cooking, not frying like that nonsense they put on the flat top over in Philadelphia. And they put some really poor cuts of meat on there. They throw some cheese whiz on it and some peppers, slap it on a bun and give it to you, versus an actual cooked, almost like a roast beef au jus. Boy, is that good with the hot Italian or sweet Italian giardiniera peppers. Boy, that's a good sandwich, folks. Check it out at alsbeef.com. If you can't get over to Chicago's Little Italy, alsbeef.com, or check them out also on Gold Belly and just check out Al's Beef. Put that in your search bar, Al's Beef, and you'll find it there. Listen, folks, it's good stuff. I'm saying it because it's my favorite. I don't get anything for saying this. I'm just saying because it is pretty damn good. All right. Welcome back to everybody. You know who you are. All right. Now, finishing up that Tua injury situation. Look, there are 7, 8, 9, 10 other quarterbacks that have some NFL experience available. But the reality is this. I mean, look, if you see all those other players from Trevor Siemian to Beathard and this one and that one, look, all those guys combined don't have what Ryan Tannehill has available. And let's face it, it was Andy Dalton stepping in for Bryce Young over in Carolina. So Andy Dalton is off the shelf right now. So Ryan Tannehill not only has experience with the Dolphins previously, but he is their only option as I see it. And I'm sure they see the same thing. So look for Ryan Tannehill to sign some kind of a deal with the Dolphins to take over as their number 2 until Tua is in some kind of shape, if he ever gets back in shape to play again. I mean, of course, we wish him the best. I'm sure he wants to get out there. I want to see him back out there. But at the same time, health first, family first. All right, moving on to baseball. And the pennant races have really taken some kind of shape here. And right now, it is the Yankees that have stretched it out 3 games over the Orioles. And with literally, a handful of games left, the Yankees may hold on to that first place. But listen, it doesn't matter in the American League East because both of these teams have beaten each other on the road. And the bigger question is, can the Yankees and their haphazard bullpen keep up with an injured Baltimore bullpen. And honestly, the Yankees may have a dead heat when it comes to pitching right now, because at the beginning of the season and through the middle of the season, it was the Orioles with a better pitching staff, but they've had so many injuries that now these two teams are about even. And let's face it, even to win the championship, the Yankees being the World Series, the Yankees are just a little bit ahead of Baltimore anyway. But honestly, at this point, Boston has faded. Over the American League Central, it is the Cleveland Guardians, as I predicted, to make the World Series against the Arizona Diamondbacks all the way back in spring training. It looks like Cleveland is defining themselves as the division winner right now. Kansas City, they're 4 games back. The Twins are 6.5 back. They're not going to win the division. Kansas City still has a shot with 15 games left. Not even that. 14 games left. But we'll see what happens there. That's what they've got. But the bigger problem that they've got is Kansas City has 4 games in the loss column behind Cleveland. Now, that's a huge number, and that's what gives Cleveland a big, big edge. Over in the West, it is somehow Seattle has made this an interesting race because now they're 4.5 games behind Houston. Both teams have won their last 3-4 games, but it's still Houston that is the better team. The Texas Rangers, the world champion Texas Rangers, at least till the end of the season, are 8 games under 500. I mean, that's unbelievable. It really is. And when you look at the hottest teams in the American League right now, you still have to say the Kansas City Royals, they've won 7 out of their last 10. The Yankees have won 7 out of their last 10. The Orioles have lost 7 out of their last 10. And that's really it. Detroit is essentially just about out of it. When you look at the wild card standing, this is all American League, by the way. The wild card, it is still the Orioles. They're going to be in the playoffs. The Kansas City Royals are 2.5 up. Minnesota's holding on to that last spot, but Detroit is 2.5 behind Minnesota along with Seattle. Seattle could still sneak in there. Boston is 4.5. They have to leapfrog 2 other teams, actually 3 teams, just to get in there. I don't think it's going to happen. Detroit and Seattle have a shot to make the last one. And so, really, it's going to be 2 teams likely that are the wild card teams from the American League Central along with the division winner. And let's face it, this is what we've been saying for quite some time here. Now, over in the National League wild card, you look at that and say, all right, well, hey, first of all, in these divisions, the Phillies are going to win theirs. They're up by a bunch over Atlanta. Atlanta is just playing inspired ball. And despite whether they're 5-5 in the last 10, Atlanta, with all those injuries, are still 13 games over 500. That's pretty damn good. Milwaukee, big over the Cubs. Milwaukee has their division basically locked up. They're 10 over them. The Dodgers, 3.5 over San Diego, 5 over Arizona, who I have going to the World Series and winning everything. But looking at the National League wild card, what we have is, well, a little bit more of a race, if you will. The National League wild card looks a little bit different, but not too much different. As the National League wild card has taken shape, it is San Diego that's 3.5 up, Arizona that's 2 up, and those are the first 2 slots. Atlanta has jumped back in over the New York Metropolitans. They have the tiebreaker, and in fact, they have the identical record, but Atlanta does have the tiebreaker. The Cubs are 5 back. They're basically done at this point. And it's really a 4-horse race looking for 3 slots. So likely the Padres, Diamondbacks, and Braves will be your wild card teams. It seems like New York has, being the Mets, they have peaked at the wrong time. I think they peaked a little bit early. All the other teams, forget it. But the divisions themselves in the National League, as we said, those are pretty well defined. And when you look at head-to-head matchups, look, Philadelphia hasn't fared that well against Atlanta. So Philadelphia does not want to see Atlanta in the playoff picture. And I don't necessarily believe that Milwaukee wants to see Arizona in the playoff picture, but they're going to be in there. Milwaukee got their hats handed to them by Arizona last year in the playoffs. San Diego is a very, very streaky club, extremely streaky club. And again, you don't know which San Diego team is going to show up, and you don't know from a pitching staff standpoint. Look, Yu Darvish is very, very hot and cold, as he has been through his entire career. Musgrove is taking shape back. Dylan Cease is a very good, steady pitcher. You know what you're going to get from him. The rotation is solid there. Bullpen is fairly solid at San Diego. Arizona's had some question with their bullpen, but Arizona plays small ball, and they got a shot to beat any team that they're playing. The Dodgers, albeit 4-6 in their last 10, I don't think they're too worried about things. Dodgers still have, outside of Michael Kopech being in the pen, they still have a lot of bullpen questions. But the Dodgers' next man up mentality is pretty good. But here's the funny thing. When you look at runs scored, you think, oh, gee, the Dodgers with all those weapons. Well, in the National League, folks, I got to tell you, and this is by a lot of runs, it is Arizona that has scored 822 runs opposed to the Dodgers. They've scored 80 more runs than the Dodgers have. 80. That's right. And the Dodgers, you would think they would have scored the most with all those weapons. Well, let's face it. I mean, if you're 80 runs behind the Arizona Diamondbacks, you say, how does that even happen? I'll tell you how it happens. It's real simple. It happens by playing small ball. They move runners over, they'll advance runners, and then they'll score sac flies, bunts, squeeze plays, whatever it is. That's how Arizona gets all their runs. Granted, they have given up essentially 90 more runs than the Dodgers. It doesn't matter because they're scoring 80 more runs anyway. They do sit 5 games behind the Dodgers, but the numbers actually make sense. But a very good price at plus 2,200. So you put up 100 to win 2,200 if the Arizona Diamondbacks win the World Series. The Padres at plus 1,400 put up 100, and you win 1,400 if the Padres win. And the Padres look pretty darn good. Dodgers are plus 325. I don't think they're good enough to win the World Series this year. I don't believe the Brewers are. The Brewers are a couple of players away. They're plus 2,000. And so you put up 100 to win 2,000. Now over in the East, the Phillies are essentially a plus 500. Somehow the Dodgers have a lower payoff than them. I think the Phillies are a little bit more shaky, especially in the bullpen. The Braves are at a real good price at plus 2,200. The Mets are plus 25. They don't even make the playoffs. So I think it is the Arizona Diamondbacks at plus 2,200 when you look at the grand scheme of things on who is the best bet. And remember, it is the Diamondbacks that have incredible starting pitching, led by Zach Gallen and Kelly. Those guys are good. They're just as good as any other two on any other starting staff. And remember, the Dodgers got Yamamoto back just recently, so that really helps them. But the Dodgers still have a bullpen problem, just like the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, the Phillies, they have 90 wins, just a couple of wins over the Dodgers. They're 90-59. The Dodgers are 88-61. So essentially, these two teams are almost the same. They're mirror images of one another, really. But when you look at stability, the Brewers are more dependable across the board. They're a more sound baseball team than both the Dodgers and the Phillies. I believe the Brewers can beat both of those teams in a 5 or a 7 game series. I feel very comfortable with that. But I just don't see anybody beating. In fact, I can actually see the Padres beating the Dodgers and the Phillies as well. I don't see the Brewers beating the Padres either, but I see Arizona beating the Padres because of the way they play. It's a very different ball game, folks. Station-to-station ball, which San Diego plays, versus fundamental ball, stretching a single to a double, double to a triple. That's what makes Arizona so dangerous. And over in the American League, you ask who is the most dangerous club in there. Well, look, you got to imagine that Kansas City, because they've got nothing to lose. They have the same odds as Arizona, and nobody's expecting anything out of Kansas City. Kansas City, Cleveland plays a very, very similar game to Arizona as well. And the Orioles have the same ability, but you can't discount the stability and strength of the Houston Astros because they could beat you at all aspects. And oh, by the way, they have pitching and bullpen. Remember, they took Hader away from San Diego. So Houston is a very good club, but I still have Cleveland beating Houston. And as this shapes up, you're going to see exactly what we're talking about. All right, folks, that's going to do it for the circus today. I'm your Ringmaster Sal. We'll see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. Thanks for all the affiliates carrying us, and we'll see you real soon. So long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.